Okay, folks, we'll start. Welcome to our Nepal program presentation this evening. My name is Philip Smeder. In case you don't know me, I'm a professor of economics here at GSW and also the study abroad director. Thank you for coming. Let me first tell you that if you're here for a Windows to the World credit, we have two individuals sitting in the back, Dr. Brian Davis, Professor John Fox. After the program is completed, you will go to their spots and swipe your ID card. And then you will receive an email from Dr. Davis sometime, probably tomorrow, and you have to respond to that email by taking a short survey. That's the way you get Windows to the World credit. It's not simply swiping your card. Okay? So you have to respond to the email, and you'll get Windows to the World credit. Again, thank you for coming tonight, or this evening. What I want to do is just kind of talk about study abroad, actually. I mean, we have 5 students that are going to be doing the presentations, but I'll just talk a little bit about study abroad, a little bit about Nepal, where we went in May of this year for 2 weeks to help a village that suffered some damage from the earthquake that Nepal experienced in 2015. It was quite an experience. It was quite a trip, as you'll see from the photos that the students will be presenting. This is Nepal, or this is actually India, but Nepal is in South Asia, and it is up in the northeastern shoulder of India. Here's the country. It has 29 million people. It is a little smaller than the state of New York in area. It's very mountainous, as you know. It has the highest peaks in the world, the Himalaya, and we were fortunate enough to get close enough to see those mountains, and they are absolutely spectacular. So that's as much as I want to say about Nepal, because again, we have 5 students who are going to be doing a lot of talking, and hopefully you'll have some questions for them at the end of the period here. Why study abroad? You know, for all the reasons that you've heard about, for all the reasons that I talk about in my classes to convince students to go on one of these trips. You know, the intercultural understanding and meeting new people and figuring out where you are in the world in relation to these fellow travelers that you'll be experiencing your life with on this planet. But most important is in 2016, 1.9 million bachelor's degrees were awarded in the United States. And when you graduate, it'll be more. And the question you have to present to yourself is, how do you differentiate yourself from those 2 million other students that are graduating with a bachelor's degree? How do you do that? GPA? Yeah, maybe, but there's another, 500,000 students that will graduate with a 4.0, guaranteed. How do you do that? We've talked to employers, and one way that employers decide on who they want to talk to when they have a whole pile of applications is they're looking for somebody who understands their role in the future. And the role in the future is essentially part of being a global citizen. And so going on a study abroad trip, whether it's a spring break trip, and we have a bunch of them, or a 3-week trip, we have a few of those, I'll talk about those in just a minute, that differentiates you from essentially all of those 2 million other people that you are competing with for a job. About 250,000 students in the United States go on study abroad every year. Unfortunately, not too many of you folks are convinced that this is something you absolutely have to do. About 3,000 UGA students go on study abroad every year. 3,000. Here at GSW, our best year has been about 45 students that go on study abroad. So, 3 years ago, we decided that we were going to promote this Windows to the World. GSW was going to be a hotbed for internationalizing the campus, and one way to do that is to get students out into the world, and that's what we've been trying to do. So, when you land someplace, I fly in and out of Atlanta a lot. Maybe you do too. I know exactly where I'm going. As soon as the airplane touches down, and I get on the plane train and pick up my baggage and go over to the fly-in ride and get my car, and I go home. I know exactly what's going to happen. I've done it hundreds of times. But when you fly into Kathmandu, everything's different. Everything's new. And you discover who you are very, very quickly. And over the next week or 2 weeks, you discover exactly what you can do and also what you can't do. This is more of the benefits of experiencing a study abroad program. You get to know who you are. Because right now you are kind of an appendage to your family, right? I mean, you're 18, 19, 20 years old. You are simply a part of your family. This is a way to break those bonds, not permanently, but you get away from understanding what the family ethic is, and you see how the world lives its life, which has been my objective throughout my entire life, to see how the world lives its life. And this is my own photo of Mount Everest. When I was a kid walking to school, the 20 miles through snowstorms, uphill both ways, I passed a library, and every day after school I would stop in the library, and I would immerse myself in books about mountains, because I like mountains. And I've always, since I was like 4 years old, I have always wanted to see the Himalaya and Mount Everest. And in May, I finally got to get on an airplane and see Mount Everest, and it was absolutely, it was breathtaking. And I still get shivers when I look at that picture. It was unbelievable. So, everything's not Mount Everest. So there are some bad parts about experiencing different cultures. Sometimes you have to eat stuff that you would never, ever consider eating here in the United States. But that's being part of a cultural individual who can accept change and is open to experience new things. So we have a study abroad fair next week at the Marshall Student Center. A week from today, October the 18th. We'll be there from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And all the study abroad programs, program directors, they'll have literature, and we're hoping to convince a great many of you to go on a study abroad program with us. Here are the programs that we have available. We have a Bulgaria program. Dr. Yordanov and I have been doing this since 2009. We've gone 4 times with students. It's a month-long program. June costs about $2,900, which is a huge, huge bargain. We have 2 programs to China, one for art students and one for general education. We have a program to Costa Rica, essentially geology or science students. There's a program to Guatemala for business students, but essentially open to anybody. We'd be looking at fair trade coffee. We have a program to Jamaica, which is strictly for nursing students, and the nursing school does a good job of advertising that, and that's usually oversubscribed. And we have a program to Romania, a new program to Romania, which is just north of Bulgaria. And again, the director of that program will be at the Study Abroad Fair to try to convince you to go to Romania with faculty. So, bridge the cultural gap, experience other cultures, come on a study abroad trip. Namaste, which is how you doing in Nepal. So our first presenter is a senior student. Her name is Amelia Cornell, and she'll be our first presenter, student presenter.
I'm Amelia, and I was part of the study abroad that went to Nepal in May for 2 weeks. This is my project. Okay, so before I talk about my experience, I'm going to talk about the earthquake that actually happened 2 years ago because it was really devastating and impacted a lot of people. It happened in April of 2015, and what causes earthquakes a lot of times is that there's two plates that constantly push against each other, and eventually they get stuck, but they're still trying to push against each other. So there's all this built up pressure, and eventually that gets released, and thus an earthquake. The problem with the one that happened in Nepal is it was really close to the surface, so it ended up being huge with an intensity of 7.8. So like 1 to 10, you can kind of do the math there. It was just insane. And then there was 2 aftershocks after that of a 6.7 and a 6.6, and it could be felt over 700 miles away, resulting in almost 9,000 deaths and over 22,000 injuries. And the biggest thing was that it left 4 million people homeless. The problem with Nepal is that they're in poverty, like really bad poverty. They're the 12th poorest in the world. And rebuilding is going much slower for them than if it was to happen somewhere here in America, where we have the funds to like help people out. And as of this year, in April, only 22,000 homes have been rebuilt, which is like 3.5% of the ones that have been damaged. Also, what's really sad is from the earthquake is that tourism went down by like 72%, which is sad because when people come, they bring money to their economy, and then they can use that to help rebuild. But people didn't go because of safety concerns, which is a little crazy because they've only had like 2 earthquakes in the last 100 years. And people have thought, like, what's the point of visiting a country that was destroyed by an earthquake? But realistically, all the wonders are still there, and the natural beauty, and there are just so many reasons to go see. And I'm about to show you them. So when we went, we got to help a little bit with rebuilding, and we were helping with a school, kind of. Well, the school was like already there, but it had been damaged. And what we helped with mainly was building a staircase down because it wasn't really like safe for them to get to the school. It was kind of like in this big ditch almost. So we helped rebuild by bringing lots of rocks over and use them to make steps. We had a hike to the work site. This is in Dotting, by the way. And you can tell like it wasn't a bad work site to work at. Like it was gorgeous. And the hike up there was pretty fun, but tiring. Aside from that, we saw some amazing views. Can I use my laser pointer? Okay, these are actually in Pokhara, which was a lot of our favorite place. This was the view from the top of one of our hotels, so you could just like go up there and look at that. It was beautiful. This was top of hiking. This one over here, that's just from us just driving around. When you looked out your window and you saw like beautiful mountains, it made the like 12-hour drives a little more bearable. And these were from our work site. Again, it was beautiful and didn't make working too bad. We ate some unique food. Common foods were like rice and chicken, and these little things called momos, which are like dumplings, which could be full of like chicken or vegetables. And something unique, I tried ostrich when I was there, which was different. I thought it tastes like chicken, and it does not taste like chicken. And normally, like how we get bread before meals, they actually got popcorn, which we thought was kind of funny. Like, what? It was cute. Okay, we had many adventures when we were there. We rode on a rickshaw, which is like almost like a motorbike connected to just this cart that they pulled us in, and this took us to a lot of temples, so it made us not have to walk, which was nice. We got henna in Kathmandu on one of our last days there, which was kind of cool because it was like there with us when we came back, you know, something to look at. It lasted for about 2 weeks. We canoed in Pokhara, which took us to the mountain that we hiked at. Me and Jana really liked hiking. Something I really enjoyed was that we got to meet with college students, and it was cool for me because I'm a business major, and the ones we met with were also business majors. So we looked at their schedule, and I'd be like, whoa, I had principles in marketing, that's so cool. And all of a sudden, you're connected to someone all the way on the other side of the world. It was really cool. And we also went to a wedding reception where the brides wear red. So we were all like, can we wear red? You could wear red, it didn't matter. But she was gorgeous. Other things, I don't know if my video is gonna work. You might have to try from your side. Can you try it? Oh my God. taught traditional dancing, and Smedra obviously did it the best, so I had a video. I thought he nailed it. Like, that's exactly what they looked like doing it. We also did some cave exploring, which is, when he said you learn a lot about yourself when you study abroad, I learned I am very claustrophobic. Like, to the point it's almost unbearable. So cave exploring was not my favorite thing. But, you know, learn something new every day. And then we also did rafting, which you could see at the bottom. This was one of the coolest experiences for me because there was this point where you're like in between mountains, there's like a sunset, there's this wall, and like baby monkeys start coming out. We were able to jump out of the raft. It was just one of the coolest moments I think I've ever had in my life, and that's a memory that's never going to be taken from me, you know? And we also went to the monkey temple, or the Shushn temple. And for 30 cents, you could get a piece of coconut and feed it to the monkeys, but you had to make sure no other monkeys were around because then it was like a battle to the death, so it was just interesting. These are some of the temples and stupas we saw. Oh, this one is actually where Buddha was born, which is interesting because Nepal is a very Hindu culture. So, a little fact for you. And these are just some more cool pictures I took. This was like an average Kathmandu street, just full of the wires. It was very compact and busy. Some more views. Over in the corner, you could see like prayer flags. Those were everywhere. This was just a bug I thought looked cool when we were hiking. It's real. I don't know. Maybe it's not that cool. And our layover was in Hong Kong. We actually got to take like this little trolley up to the highest peak in Hong Kong, but it was foggy. It was still really interesting to look at. And we rode this little like ferry boat, which was obviously decked out for tourists because they had like paper lanterns and all this stuff for us, but it was cool. It was a really awesome experience. Okay, so traveling is tough and it's mildly uncomfortable. To get to Nepal, we had to take 3 planes, one of which was 15 hours. And by the end of it, all of our ankles are swollen and you're like smelly and hungry, and it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. And jet lag is very real. Getting there, it wasn't bad, but coming back, it took me almost probably like a week to get back in my schedule because I'd want to go to bed at like 4 in the afternoon and wake up at like 3 a.m. and be ready to go. And that took a while to get used to. But you never know a place until you go there. Like, we obviously didn't know too much about Nepal, but we researched it before we went. And looking at pictures online and learning about poverty and things online is never real until you're actually there experiencing it. And you get growth in knowledge and growth about yourself. Like I said, claustrophobic. You also get a newfound respect for simple things like air conditioning and traffic laws because they don't have any. We maybe saw 1 stop sign the entire time we were there. People just know when to drive. And there would be like 4 lanes of road, and our tour guide would just be like, you just put out your hand and walk. We'd be like, oh yeah, okay. So, but it works, and none of us got hit by a car. These are all memories that are obviously never going to be taken from me, and it sparks a curiosity to want to go to other places in the world. Like, I would have never thought about going to Nepal, but it's really cool that you guys offer me this opportunity to do something like that. And now that I know what's there, I want to know what else is out there, you know? So, that's it.
I know who I am. Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay. Okay, is that better? Okay. So I'm Lindsay Brooks. I went on the Nepal trip, and this is my presentation. So before we went, we had to research a topic about Nepal, and I chose animals. So one of the biggest differences between America and Nepal. So Nepal, the main religion there is Hinduism, but then there are also a lot of Buddhists there. And in those religions, cows are sacred, and so they don't eat the cows. Instead of using beef, they use buffalo, which tastes very different. But because cows are sacred, no one, like, you don't mess with them and you don't kill them. So they just walk around the streets and the fields, and they're just everywhere. And they just sleep in like the middle of all the traffic, but no one hits them because they're magic drivers over there and they don't have car wrecks. So, all of my pictures are just me with animals. Then dogs are everywhere as well. It's heartbreaking because you can't take them all home, but dogs are really respected. Worshipped over there. And the second day of one of their celebrations of Diwali, is that how you pronounce it? Okay. And so the dogs are everywhere, and they're little puppies, and they're really cute. But we didn't touch very many of them because we didn't know if they had rabies or anything. But just walking along the streets between the shops and everything, dogs would just follow you and go to the stores, and it was really fun. But then monkeys. So we went to the famous monkey temple while we were in Nepal, and the monkeys that inhabit the temple are the rhesus, that word. And it's believed that they came to the temple by turning into monkeys from head lice of one of the Buddhist embodiments of wisdom. I can't pronounce his name. But anyway, so that's me feeding a baby monkey. I got really scared. I didn't think I would be, but then a monkey's grabbing for your hand, and it's kind of terrifying. So that was that. And then there are also lots of goats. So people over there eat goats, but they also had a goat temple in the old district of Kathmandu, and goats just kind of chill there and sleep, and people bring them food, which would be a pretty nice life. But the first picture over there is me and Sarah playing with a goat outside of a restaurant. Sarah was convinced it was dinner, but I didn't like to think about that. So, and some animals that we didn't see are tigers. These are Bengal tigers. And they also have like rhinos over there, but rhinos weren't as cute. So that's a red panda. And then in the higher altitudes, people ride yaks sometimes. We didn't get to a high enough altitude where we could have a yak ride. But I found a fake yak. So I was on the fake yak, and that's obviously Mount Everest behind me. This was at a mountain museum that we went to. So. But we also visited a lot of temples, as Amelia said. So this was in Lumbini. They have hundreds of temples there, and we saw some of them. They're all really gorgeous and just really pretty. And this was one temple we saw on our way driving from Dotting to Lumbini. We had a really long bus ride that we made it through. So. And then when we were first in Kathmandu, we met with some students from Apex College, which was really fun, and it made me appreciate our college a lot more because we have a huge campus, and we can just, I don't know, like we have dorms, and we have a huge cafeteria and different places to eat and different places to go hang out and lots of clubs. And because Kathmandu was so busy, they had a really small building, and their facilities weren't as modern as ours were. But they're all really nice people, and they're all very active on social media. So Facebook and Instagram are way, way bigger in Nepal than in America, which is hard to believe, but it's very true. And this was in Dotting, this is where our work site is. We walked across that bridge to get to our work site, which gave some people the fear of heights. I don't know what it's called. I know, they were scared. Anyway, and that was our tour guide, Sampana. Everyone was convinced that I was 12 while we were over there, but it was okay. And then this was also on our hike over to our workplace, which is about 1.5 miles, I think. It was fun. And then this is our work site. So these are the stairs we built. Well, other people helped us build them. But this was the pile of rocks that the stairs came out of. So it was very impressive. But this was the school that the kids actually couldn't go to school in because it had a huge crack in the structure. And so there was the fear that the school would collapse onto the kids. So the kids were actually having school in like a little shack next to the school. So yeah, and these are some of the people that obviously went on the trip. And then some of our tour guides over there and interpreters. So, and then my slides got kind of mixed up. This is birthplace of Buddha, which is in Lumbini. And there were a lot of prayer flags, and the prayer flags are really beautiful. And for each flag, represents a prayer, which I thought was really cool. And that's the building of the birthplace of Buddha. They built like a structure around it. And that's a structure of baby Buddha. I'm very happy. And this was Pokhara. This was kind of just more a sightseeing thing where everything's sightseeing, but we didn't go and see temples and everything. We just kind of walked around, and we saw Davis Falls, or Davis Falls. Okay, I didn't know the name. It's just a really deep waterfall that no one's ever found the bottom of. So it was really cool. We got to explore the caves underneath it. And these are just the streets, and this mountain view was, we saw that from the rooftop of our hotel, which was pretty cool. And also in Pokhara, we got to hike up a very, very tall hill to a stupa. And we also got to canoe there, and it was really fun. So then before we left, we went back to Kathmandu, and we went to the old district of Kathmandu. And this is the tallest temple in Nepal. And then that's actually the Kumari, which is the living goddess in Nepal. So it was really cool that we got to see her, and some of us got tikas on our forehead from her. And then this picture, you can just see some of the rubble left from the earthquake. There's just bricks and stones everywhere, which is really, really sad. But they're working to rebuild it, so hopefully we can do that. And then this is the monkey temple. So there were monkeys everywhere, and they had a monkey pool for them, and there were just lots of prayer flags on the big stupa. And it was just really interesting to get to see all of these monkeys that we would never dream of seeing here in America. And then before we left, we got henna, as Amelia said, and these are the girls that did it for us. And yeah, and that was it. Anyway, so my experience in Nepal made me very grateful for everything that I have in America, because I mean, in Nepal it's beautiful and it's great, but being in America, I have so many opportunities that the college students that I talk to don't have. For them, it's very difficult to get out of Nepal and move to a different country or just visit anyone, anywhere that's not Nepal. And so they were very jealous of all of the opportunities that I had that I never even thought of. So just the fact that I can travel to Nepal just for vacation is very humbling to me to realize that I have so much that I didn't even realize I had, that many people in Nepal will never get to experience. So, yeah. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jana, and I went to Nepal, obviously. And the topic that I researched before we went was family relationships. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. In Nepal, there's kind of a hierarchy, and it's based off of the last name. And we got to see a whole bunch of different people in their different castes, and I remember seeing a woman at a temple, and she was really poor and she was begging, and it was definitely a humbling experience because I've never seen anything like that, and it made me very proud to be where I'm from and able to experience the things that I get to experience daily because most people around the world don't get to. In Nepal, we went to a wedding, and it was a lot of fun. It was a celebration where a lot of people from around the world came to attend. And we drove past a couple of weddings while we were there, saw them outside, and Dr. Gamari said that you could crash a wedding and they didn't really care because you're there to celebrate, and it was just all in good fun. And we went to the wedding on the last night that we were there before we went back on the airplane. And it was a good way to end. There was lots of food and music, and it was definitely a night to remember. Burial in Nepal, we went to a temple when we were there, and people come there to die. And it said that if you die there and you're cremated while you're there, you will be reincarnated as a human, whether your karma was good or bad. And visiting this was really strange for a lot of us because we'd never seen anything like cremations personally, and it was kind of hard to watch, not watch, but you know what I mean. And it was really interesting, but learning why they do it and everything like that definitely made it super interesting to see. And this is pictures from that temple and the cremations and stuff like that. I was super excited to go to LA because that's where we had our first stop, and I've never been to California, and I've always wanted to go. And even though we didn't get to see much of California, I was really excited to be there. And these are some of our foods on the airplane, and I thought it was really interesting that they gave us ramen and we had to eat it with chopsticks. So being a broke college student, every time that I eat ramen, I think about eating it with chopsticks on the airplane in Hong Kong. While we were in Hong Kong, we got to see a bunch of different things. We were there for like a 12-hour layover, so we did a tour of the city. And I thought that all the buildings were really cool. I liked the architecture, and they had a lot of bamboo hanging around. It was super cool. And I thought it was really cool how in Nepal and in Hong Kong they drove on different sides of the road. And both places, and we were in our bus, they would get really close to each other, and we definitely thought we were going to have some accidents, but luckily we didn't, because that would have been bad. When we were in Hong Kong, we went on a boat tour, like Amelia said, and these are a couple of the buildings we got to see while we were there, and it was really awesome. I'm normally scared of being on water, but I definitely was super into this. Daily sights in Nepal. There are cows in the road all the time, and it was really cool to see them just standing there and people not running them over, I guess. And there are a bunch of shops everywhere, and the power lines, which I thought was a really weird thing because they had hundreds and hundreds of power lines everywhere. This is my friend Kat, and we saw a goat and its head, and they were not attached, and that's not something you see every day here, but it's definitely something you see every single day there. It was pretty weird. While we were there, we went to the college, and I thought it was really cool. When we showed up, they had this banner of us, all of us that went, and it was really cool. They were super excited that we were there, and I liked talking to them. And my favorite thing about their school was that all their curriculum is like picked out and laid out for them, so they know what classes they're going to take every single semester without having to plan their schedules like we do. This was our work site, and all of us, after crossing the bridge, that was probably one of the scariest things for me, but it was okay. And these are the rocks that we had to move to the staircase. We picked out all the flat ones, and they were kind of heavy, but we did it. And this is one of the mountains that we could see from where we were staying, and I thought it was really beautiful. We saw tons of temples and stupas while we were there, and the first two pictures are from my favorite place that we went. It was the German temple, and it had all these stories about Buddha's life and statues, and I thought that all the artwork there was amazing, and it just was my favorite, most beautiful place that we went. We went to this temple, or this stupa right here, and we had to be quiet when we were there, and we had to take off our shoes when we walked around it, and it was just really cool. And the one next to it is in Pokhara, and it looks exactly the same, and we hiked really far up to get there, and it was a good hike. And when we were going back down, I kind of fell down the mountain, but it was okay because I survived. There were a lot of animals, and I was really excited because I love animals. And we named a couple of the dogs. The first one is Golden, and he was our friend for a really long time. He liked to hang out with us. And then this is Oreo. And then the monkey is really cute, and I was really scared to touch them, but everybody else got to feed the monkeys coconut and stuff like that, but I was way too scared, and I kind of regret not doing it. But you live and you learn. Next time I'm in Nepal, I'll definitely do it. These are a couple of the sites from our hotel room in Kathmandu, and they had a couple of Snapchat filters, which I thought was pretty cool, because I didn't know that they would. And we got henna while we were there, and my favorite part about that was the girls were trying to imitate our American accents, and they did a really good job. Pokhara was my favorite place by far. I think a lot of us loved it. This is another view from the hike that we went on, and it was really beautiful. And one night when we were at dinner, we saw a mountain in the distance, and we all like ran back to the hotel room real quick before we got our food. And we got on the roof, and we saw this mountain, and we all took pictures, and it was like one of the most amazing sights I've ever seen. And I thought that this drink was cool. I got a Coke, and they've like decorated the little lemon. I don't know. And I had an amazing experience in Nepal. I would definitely go back. I think it's awesome that you get to experience a new culture and live a different life for a couple of weeks. You get to make a lot of new friends. I definitely like to stay in my comfort zone, and I didn't know a lot of the people who went on the trip. And I would say that a lot of us are really close now, and I'm really excited about being friends with them and sharing our memories. We made a lot of different memories. Some of my favorite ones were on the long bus rides that we had. We would play cards so many times. And we would make bets on our phone because they would tell us that we would get there at a specific time, and we knew that they were lying. Not them, but the people from Nepal. And we would just make bets, and if you got there on your time, then you won. And I think that it's amazing to get out and experience new things, because whether it's spring break or summer or whenever you choose to study abroad, you're not sitting at home with your family and you're not working. Like, you're experiencing a different life, and I think you might as well not live the same year every single year, and you should get out there and live your best life.
Hi guys, I'm Corey, if you don't know me. I'm super nervous, there's a lot of you. So we went to Nepal. This is not my first thing. Okay, so like I said, we had to do a little project before we went, and I chose the actual city of Kathmandu. And so this is just like the first day we got there, we were crossing a bridge, and it looks pretty bad if you can't tell. Thought really they mentioned it, the power lines must be an electrician's nightmare to live in Kathmandu. And so this is earthquake damage. It's like a little river now of garbage. So let's move on. First of all, I'll talk about the actual city. Kathmandu was named after Kathmandu. It's a temple in the Durbar Square. And basically it means a wood-covered shelter. And a lot of Nepal is wood. They're kind of modernizing. A lot of bricks are now being used. This, like they said, is the tallest temple. And these are cool statues. We took a bunch of pictures, like there's a lion and elephant and something else, a few other things. This is more damage from the earthquake. And this is actually the old district, the old city, as it were. And this is a little, like a little courtyard we passed by. As you can see, I denoted it as the knitting club and the poker club. These old ladies are sitting here and they're doing this weave thing. It's really cool. Yeah. And the gentleman over here, I assume we're playing cards, the gentleman's club. And these soccer guys, I wanted to go play with them, but I'm not good at soccer, so I decided to not do it. Moving on. Is that too far? No? Gosh. This is more of the city. This is, as we were leaving the city, we got a little overview from I think we were the south side. This is kind of the same area, same view. And this one up here in the right corner is I guess you say the upper echelon of Nepal. So they have pretty nice cars, roads. Oh, roads, I want to get on roads. So, branch off point. In Nepal, the roads are terrible. They're awful, they're not concrete at all. Just dirt. Some concrete in the nice parts. So when we went from Kathmandu to Lumbini, from Kathmandu to Lumbini, it was probably like 15 miles, 10 miles, something like that. Took us like good 7 hours, just standard Nepali time. Good stuff. That's about it on that one. Oh, also, on the roads, we had our bus, and they're like the good 30, 40 passenger bus, and we probably had the best driver in the world as our driver. Funny story, he was actually kind of blind. So this one lady that joined our trip, Miss Margaret, was talking to him, and she actually gave him some eye drops, and he was so thankful, like his eyes were so red and dry and just bad, like, so kind of scared, like could have ended our lives at any time. Here's just another little side street that we were driving past. That was our 4-hour block to ride like a mile in the city. On our return to Kathmandu, took us like 3 or 4 hours to get to our hotel. Next, we'll go over the Monkey Temple a little bit. I know everybody else has, but some of the same pictures. The pool, monkey pool. I actually thought it was kind of cool, the dog temple as well. Maybe dogs are taking over, who knows? Little monkey on a ledge, stupa. Dotting, the work site. Probably the same pictures that everybody else had. That's the REM building, the REMS building, which is a resource management place. And we got to stay in there. Pretty nice rooms, actually. The beds were kind of okay, nice pillows too. Goat on a chain. Actually, on this river here that we crossed to Dotting, a bunch of miles downward, a bunch of miles to the south, we actually got to do kayaking. We actually got to do rafting, and we got to see monkeys, cool stuff. This is the school, it's kind of bad shape. I mean, it looked fine from the outside. They had barred windows and barred doors, so kids wouldn't go in and get hurt. This is Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha. We have our nice professor here, and his sister actually came. Prayer flags, cool stuff. I'd like to go over the Lumbini, the building where Buddha was born, supposedly. We weren't allowed to take our pictures. We had to be quiet and take off our shoes. Did we? Yeah, we had to take off our shoes, of course. In the center of the building, it's like this low-down place, like 10 feet under the ground. There's a little raised stone. It's like an enclosed glass case that I guess protected it. There's a lot of money, like it's like a wishing well kind of thing. People drop money and coins, I guess, for Buddha's blessings and things. And the actual story behind this spot, I believe there's once an Indian king came over to Nepal and said that Buddha was born here at this spot. They marked it by a little tower right here that I didn't have in. They said it's 50 paces from the tower and then to the east, and 50 paces from the little pool in the backyard, from the west, maybe south. This is a monk greeting us, as they all do, namaste. Like they said, there are many temples in Nepal. In this one area of Lumbini, just about every Buddhist community around the world has a temple there, such as the French, the Germans, the Thai, many, many temples, many cultures come together for Buddhism. Pokhara, fun place. I took a little different view than some people. Let's start here. We went to the Gurkha Museum, which is basically the, maybe like the Navy SEALs of the U.S. Cool guys, they have nice hats. We actually got to buy knives, the Kunkuri knife, very cool stuff. Surprisingly, we got to bring them back to the U.S. Cool stuff. Next, this is a little view from the lake in Pokhara. kayaking, Devil's Falls. Let's see. And lastly, the mountain from our rooftop in Pokhara. Funny story, we actually went to this restaurant like 5 times in like 2 days. And we always got to eat right here at this table and look up at the mountain. Really cool. So I'll get into my experience a little bit. I'm not an out there person. I really hate what I'm doing right now. This is very nervous. Another point I'd like to make is the food. I was very nervous about going to eat. I thought I would starve because I like chicken tenders and hamburgers, French fries. Tried a buffalo burger, not hamburger. My main staple was probably spaghetti. Pasta's good for you. The fried chicken's not like our fried chicken. They just kind of cut it up and throw it in the fryer and pull it out. Kind of like ours. Rice was pretty good. I tried a lot of hot food, and I do not like hot food. Many, many funny stories about that. Anything else I'm forgetting? I really enjoyed the plane ride. I love planes. 15 hours, good time. So I probably spent like 26 hours in total, there and back. Jet lag was a real problem. So why should you go to a foreign country? Why should you study? Don't laugh at me. Why would you go to another country? I think Game of Thrones said it best. Why would you want to live and die in the same place in the world? Go experience the rest. Honestly, I never could have seen myself going to Nepal, but I'm really glad I did. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Probably am. Awkward pause, I'm done. Thank you.
Hello. All right, everyone can hear me. My name is Allison. I'm a senior here in business management. I'm excited to be graduating and getting out of here. It's a great school. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just tired. I did my project on Mount Everest. I think that was the main thing that kind of stuck out when people wanted to go on this trip and think about Nepal. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world, not the tallest. The difference is high is measured from sea level up, and tall is measured from below sea level up. So the tallest mountain in the world is actually in Hawaii, and I've actually been on top of it. So it's kind of cool. I've been to the tallest and the highest mountain in the world. A little bit of information on my project. The Himalayas were formed millions of years ago. Amelia touched on this a little bit. It was a result of 2 tectonic plates colliding, and they kind of caused mountains. Some history. It was discovered in 1841, but obviously they knew it was there before that, the people that were from there. 1933, someone had the first successful flight over it. You guys can read all this. Boom, moving on. So when we first got in, after our 26 hours of flying, 26 hours of plane rides, that was fun. We get to Kathmandu and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and we get off the plane and we go through all the fun stuff of trying to get our visa, and like their security people are like asking us questions, and like it's a little intimidating. So it's like 10 o'clock at night, we get to Kathmandu, and you get out of the airport and there's vans. Our hotel has arranged to pick us up, and these guys are like, hey, can I take your bag for you? And you're like, yeah, of course, please take my bag. Like, you think they're part of the tour company, and you're like, please, take my bag, thank you. And then you get in the van, and they're like, okay, I would like for you to tip me now. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought we had an agreement, like, why? So it turns out they weren't part of the tour company. They make their living off of standing at the airport and asking, pretending to be like your tour company or your hotel picking you up to take your bags, and like essentially almost force you to pay them $20 just to put your bag in a van. So that was kind of crazy. A few people lost $20, but I didn't lose $20 because I was like, I just told them no. So I didn't trek Mount Everest. I can't do that. It's really expensive, and it brings like a lot of money to the economy, and that helps a lot, especially since they're a poor country that other people have talked about. And they're kind of trying to recover from the earthquake and the effects of that. So like these people, they look like this, and they just kind of walk around the city, and they look kind of goofy. Like they have these giant book bags on. And one day I was carrying a book bag, but not like that, just like a normal school book bag, and someone asked me if I was trekking, and I was like, no. Like, no. So yeah, to hike Mount Everest is actually really expensive. You have to pay $3,300 just to get a permit. You have to pay $25,000 to the Nepalese government. Obviously, you have to pay to stay there and eat, and a lot of the times they'll buy their gear in Kathmandu, which is the capital. So there's a lot of like shops set up, and they have like off-brand, like it'll say, what's the brand? North Face. It'll say North Face, and they'll be like, oh, North Face, but it's not North Face. So that was kind of funny. Although Mount Everest does bring a lot of tourism and money and good things to Nepal, there are a lot of issues that it causes. Basically, when people that die up there, usually they're inexperienced. There's a huge problem with like inexperienced people trying to go up there and like dying, and it's really hard to remove their bodies, so usually they just don't. And all of these trekkers leave tons of trash and excrement and a bunch of stuff, because I'm like, at that point you're kind of just fighting to survive. You don't really care, so you're just kind of like throwing stuff on the ground. Speaking of Nepalese people like making money off of Americans and people that travel there, these group of people, they're called Sherpas, and they're originally from Tibet. They migrated. Tibet is like north of China, if you don't know. They migrated there, and they basically are mountain guides, and the trekkers pay them to guide them up the mountain. And something you don't really hear about in the news is that a lot of them actually die as well. So you only usually, in the media, they only really touch on like people that travel there that die, but a lot of the Sherpas put their life at risk, and they actually die too, which is kind of sad. They're just trying to make a living and putting their life at risk every day. This this stuff right here is causing the ice to melt and the streams to be polluted, and deforestation on Mount Everest. You cut down trees to make a fire and to warm up water to take a shower, and there's just a lot of bad things going on with the mountain, and a lot of people have actually kind of pushed to make the government kind of do something about it, and overall nothing's really happening because it is such a big source of income for the country. Like I said, I didn't climb Mount Everest, but I did, myself and Dr. Smedra. It was originally more people, but I'll get to that in a second. We took a plane and we went up and we flew over Mount Everest, and it was really amazing. They let you get out of your seat and go to the cockpit or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is so amazing. Oh my gosh, you get to do this every day. That's crazy. And they just like didn't really say anything to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. But originally it was like, I think about 5 people, including maybe more. About 5 people were gonna go on the plane to see it. But the first time our plane went up, it was like really shaky, and like, I don't think anyone enjoys flying. I know I don't. But the plane was like kind of shaking, and we're like, okay, this is fine. Everything's fine. And then they like come on the intercom and they're like, attention ladies and gentlemen, we are having to put the plane down. Please fasten your seatbelts. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we get down there, and they say that it was like a cabin pressure issue, like, so they found the problem and they solved it or whatever. So at that point, everyone was like, no way, I'm not getting back on a plane. Never mind, I don't need that. But I was like, no man, like I came all the way here, like I want to see Mount Everest. I'm here, I'm probably never gonna come back. So I'm gonna go back up. So the second time we went up, and it was like super cool. Like it wasn't rocky or didn't have any problems. So I kind of accepted my fate at that point. I was like, if I die on this plane, like that's fine. Like what a great way to go. So yeah, that was really amazing. Like once in a lifetime, truly. Everyone always talks about like the really great things about study abroad, and it really is a great experience. Before this, I had never been outside of the country. The furthest I had been away from home was Hawaii, which is a pretty long ways away, and it kind of has its own culture, but it's still America, so like I had never been out of the country. So this was my first time, and definitely it was a great way to see the world and not spend like a ton of money. The faculty of GSW is definitely there for you, and they like want what's in your best interest, and they're gonna make sure that you're safe. There were a few times that I was kind of like, the plane, tip me $20, we almost slid off the side of a mountain in the bus. Like I was on the right side of the bus, and the cliff was on the right side of the bus, and the tires started losing traction, and they were like, it's fine. Our blind bus driver, he's got this. And so, but no, we got off the bus. We were like, okay, we're getting off the bus, and we walked, so it was fine. But basically, just imagine like if it was just me driving, that would be crazy. I'd probably die. Let's see. Overall, it definitely kind of shook my understanding of like who I was and like what was my normal everyday routine, and I definitely figured out who I was like positive things and negative things that I need to like improve about myself. And I feel like you don't actually figure out who you are until you actually have real things happen to you. Like you don't just wake up one day and say like, I'm gonna be a better person. Like something has to happen to like force you to change yourself. I definitely have a better understanding of the world around me. I'm definitely more thankful for AC and American food and just simple everyday things that I don't think about, like they don't necessarily have, and I'm very thankful for that. And like everyone kind of talked about, sometimes it was very uncomfortable and like there was definitely like a lot of times where everyone was kind of like tired of each other and we kind of just didn't want to talk to you, and like it was kind of rough at times, but overall I definitely think it was worth it. I definitely would encourage you. Like everyone goes to like Europe and places like that, but I feel like everyone kind of asked me, they were like, where is Nepal? Why are you going to Nepal? Isn't it cold there? Don't you need a jacket? Like, isn't it unsafe? And it's just like, that's all I heard from my family the whole time I was talking about going. And no, it's not cold there. It's actually like the same as it is here, usually like during the summer. Yeah, jet lag is real. It's very real. Culture shock is real. I think at some point in the entire trip, one of us kind of had our little meltdown, but once we got over it, it was fine. Everyone's kind of showed this picture, but this was one of my favorite temples. And all of the temples, you had to take your shoes off and be respectful. And I thought, like, this temple, the floors were like marble, so it felt kind of nice on my feet. Oh, another thing, so like, when you go to a different country and you don't necessarily look like the other people there, they want to take pictures of you and not ask you before they take pictures of you. And so I had a lot of people, I was on the bus from the plane to see Mount Everest back to the airport. This woman, I think she was visiting from India with her family. She literally, sorry, it doesn't matter. I was sitting minding my own business and she literally came up beside me and put her arm around me and hugged me. And she was like, asked me to take a picture, and I'm like, you can't really say no, because her arm is around you, and she's hugging you. So I had to take so many pictures and selfies, so I kind of felt like a celebrity, so it was kind of cool, but after a while, I was kind of over it. People definitely stared at me, like, it was strange, because like walking around in America, so no one really cares, and no one stares at you. Except for right now. So that was definitely something that I had to adjust to. These people, we actually were lucky enough to go, I'm someone who's really into politics and stuff, so we were lucky enough to go during an election that was going on, and they hadn't had this type of election in like 20 years or something. So there was a lot of like, protests, but they weren't like protests here. They weren't like violent or anything. They were all just very passionate and proud of their country and what they stood for. So this group of people were actually, I took this from the bus. They were on the way to a, sorry, Dr. Smedra, a political rally. So you can they like paint their faces and they're just so happy and excited, and it was a really nice thing to see, like people actually, like, you know, be proud of who they are and what they stand for, and in a peaceful way. Everyone has already talked about these bridges. We had to cross a few of them. I thought I was going to be scared, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. They're actually very well made. So that was kind of cool. I fed a temple monkey. Everyone fed them coconut, but when I went to the guy, he asked me if I was feeding the monkeys, and I said yes. And I was like a cantaloupe or some type of melon. It wasn't coconut. So yeah, everyone was staring at me like I was crazy. Like the people that were visiting the temple, not like us, our group, they were kind of staring at me like I was weird. So that was cool. Yeah.
All right, can you hear me? Apparently. Looks like students, as we hear, they got out of their comfort zone, right? And quite a few of them actually couldn't be here tonight, and I kind of stole some of their presentation, a few slides here and there, just to make it educational. I hope this will help you. What I want to speak about is University 4000. This is the class that we usually have every year. University 4000 is a 3-credit-hour upper division course. And it's based actually on service learning. Students go and do some sort of service, whether they will be building something or they will be servicing in some other way, but it's based on service learning. And it's possible because we have Habitat for Humanity here in Fuller Center, and also it's possible because of the GSW Foundation that has been supporting us over the years. So it's really good to actually have one of these lines on your resume. Hey, I went to Nepal or Nicaragua or Peru, and I helped building houses for people in need. So this class is important. This year, however, we didn't go with Fuller Center or Habitat. We decided to stick with the local organization, local non-profit organization, and this is RIMS Nepal. This is Resource Identification and Management Society of Nepal. This is a quick overview of the organization. It's again non-profit, non-governmental. It has much broader impact probably than what, let's say, Fuller Center will have for Habitat, but because it's so small, it doesn't really have the impact that they would like to have it at the moment. So this is our center. That's actually the dorms, and of course there are training halls, copy centers, and all these things that we actually didn't use. Main point of this societal or this organization is to improve the life of people, mostly by educating them. Simple things like sanitation sometimes, or things like how you can improve certain agricultural enterprises, or emergency response. There's no emergency response, and there is some, but in rural villages, there's no emergency response apparently, and they're part of this movement trying to help Nepal to develop. Do you think Nepal is the second world or third world country? Well, in reality, it's third, but for people that have been in the third world country, here you may say on the fourth. In fact, that doesn't really matter because people there use cell phones just like here. That's the cool thing about the third world countries. They kind of skip a lot of these things that phone lines, they're useless there, right? You cannot pull phone lines from one mountain to another, but the cell phone towers, they work really nice. So here is the map of the working area for the organization, and this is part of the presentation that I kind of stole from one of the students from James, and his project was on religion. Now, probably by now you're all thinking, oh, Nepal is all about Buddhism. Well, yes, the birthplace of Buddha is there, but the main religion there is actually Hindu. So Hinduism is older than all the religions that we can think about. It's 3,500 years BC or something like this. Yeah, really, really old. Well, what that means? It means that if that religion survived for that long, probably meant to stay there for a while. I don't understand, don't want to go in details there, but one of the main things that kind of strike me is that the social separations in castes in India and apparently in Nepal as well, actually we have 4 or 5 Nepalese in the audience right now, it's actually part of the Hinduism. You can see pictures of their gods this is actually a picture from the bus. We had a really cool bus driver, as you heard. He wasn't blind, he had an allergic reaction, by the way, so he was okay. So the driver was really, really cool. And this is, well, Shiva was on the previous picture, and this one is, actually it's my favorite kind of appearance of this, whatever god is this. The god name is Ganesh, it's this elephant, and it's the god of prosperity, of good luck, as usually when they open new business, they'll refer to it, correct? So it's really interesting. Well, I'll skip a little bit here about the Buddhism, but let me tell you the main point about the Buddhism. People in Nepal, a lot of people actually think of Buddhism as a philosophy, not as a religion. And that's really cool, because nobody will force religion on you or anything right there. And yes, maybe people were trying to make money off you. Well, and that was really cool, because I really like when I go and buy something, I have to argue with them have to bargain. That's cool. That's part of life there. But people were really nice, really, really, really nice. They're not aggressive in any possible way. I felt extremely safe. It's one of the safest places in third world countries where I've been. And I will highly recommend it. Go there to find yourself. I personally didn't find myself, so I have to go back. But you probably will do that, and you'll find yourself. And here is, that's apparently Buddha. I'm right behind it there. If you can find me on the picture, I'm also in yellow. It's hard to find it. But I think that means all in one. It's kind of, I'm not really sure about the philosophy. All the philosophies, all the religions, maybe in one or something like this. All right, so other religions that are there present, of course, there is Muslim, it's some 4%. There is 3% of the religions, it's actually indigenous religion. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Kirat religion. And less than 2% is Christian, but all the religions are present there. So that's about the religions here. And of course, you saw the Kumari already, so I won't speak about this. And this is James. And I'm going to pass the ethnic groups to actually Nepalese, so that's Dr. Gimira. Probably you've seen him in your classes, in your math classes. So he'll have very short, and then you have to, don't forget to sign up on the way out, please. Don't just run right away, we'll open for questions, okay? I'm sure you have questions, because the students are here to answer questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Probably I will be the second last speaker of the day, and then Philip will wrap up this session. Okay, as you know that I was a part of this study abroad program, and then before I go over the slide, let me share my experience, what I found during that study abroad program when I went from here to Nepal with the students from here. So I came to this country on September 2002, which is about 15 years ago. And then when I came here, I had culture shock. The joke that I used to tell in my country, I would laugh at the joke, but if I tell these jokes here, nobody would laugh. So what I'm trying to say is different culture means you will have different sense of humor as well. So there are lots of cultural difference. And then let me tell you one very interesting thing. We advise our students not to drink water from anywhere else. They need to have bottled water, right? And then we suggest not to eat ice, no ice water. And then I asked one of our students, what was the most unforgettable memory? I know what she told me was she never thought that she would miss ice. So that kind of experience that you can get from taking yourself outside the country, outside your comfort zone, that's going to give you different type of experience. Nobody would think they would miss ice. But when they went there, no ice, and they were ice, but we didn't let them eat ice. But they would, I mean, that type of experience you will get only when you expose yourself outside you. So now, after this, okay, I'll go over ethnic groups. Actually, these slides are from Nancy, right? So Nepal is, I mean, as you have already seen, like it's a multicultural country, and then it has like lots of religions. And then the good thing about, I mean, one thing what you can experience in Nepal is it has lots of religions, but they respect each other. You can see like lots of Hindus going to Buddhist temple, Muslim mosque. I mean, you can see that. That's very normal. So let's go back. Let's go to ethnic groups. Like Nepal has like many ethnic groups, and then there are like many. The majors are, one is Kshetri, and then so their main language is Nepali, and then normally each ethnic group has their own language, and then their main religion is Hindu. And then if you look at like Nepal, what happens is it goes from the elevation changes from south to north. That means the elevation changes from sea level to 29,000 feet where the Mount Everest lies. Okay, so they live mainly on the lowest strip of the country. You have that middle part of the country. That's where they live, and then they made about 16.6% of the total population. And then we have the next one, that is Bahun and Mawars, and Bahun is supposed. I mean, if you go with like a caste system, like they don't have caste system anymore legally. Bound, when they have those caste system, Bound was supposed to be the top caste, the highest caste. So now, Bound it's the second largest ethnic group, and then 22.2% of the total population, and then primary language is Maithili. It's supposed to be Nepali, okay? And then main religion is Hindu, and then they live in the hilly region of the country. And then the Mughals, that's another ethnic group. They have their own language. And then the largest, I mean, that is the third largest, 7.1%, and then their main language is Nepali, and then they speak their own language too. And their main religion is Hindu, and as well as they practice Buddhism too. And then they mostly reside in the south and western region of the country. The next one is Tharu. They're 6.5%, and then they have their own language, Tharu and Dangura, and then they believe in Hinduism, and they have their own other religion too. And then the next one is Tamang. It's about 5.8% of the total population, and they have their own language. It's called Tamang language. Main religion, that is mostly they practice Hindu, Buddhism, Christianity are mainly the main religion on Tamang group will be Buddhism and Christianity, and they live in the southern part of southern Himalayas. Okay, these are the main ethnic groups. We have other small groups too, ethnic groups too. They have their own language. So that's about the ethnic groups in Nepal. And then again, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing the experience with us. Especially you guys, you did a good job. And then back to...
So we have some time for question and answer period. We'll have the students come around here, and you folks have questions. I know you do. So, who has a question about anything? Yeah.
Back to what you were saying about language, all those different languages, how closely related are they, since it really is in that compact, completely different? Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I noticed a lot of you guys said that going to Nepal made you grateful for things in America and the convenience of things here. Were there any things you observed or experienced in Nepal that you would like to have here?
There's no drinking age in Nepal.
Everything was really convenient there. You can walk everywhere, and everything's just like right outside your door. It's really convenient.
Number one, I'd say if everybody were a better driver, maybe might help. Another thing I thought was like, yeah, cell phones are like all about the world. What am I saying? Cell phones are really big over there with social media, but also like there's like a sit down aspect. You talk with your friends, and there's like not much cell phone activity going on.
I guess I wish that it's not really like a thing, but everybody there was like really friendly, and obviously we're pretty friendly down here, but they were just had a different vibe about them, and I really liked it.
I like their college system a lot because like you're done in 4 years. Like it's no guessing. Like it's simple. You don't gotta plan your own stuff. But I love our system. It's great. That was pretty cool.
What else? Anybody else have a question? And the next time we go to Nepal, we're gonna go the other direction, because this time we went to Los Angeles, and then we went to Hong Kong, and then we went to Kathmandu. It took about 26 hours in the air. We didn't go in the other direction because we didn't want to fly over a war zone. And it would have been much, much shorter, and the jet lag would have been much, much less, but we decided to go in the other direction.
My question's for Corey. Did you ever find anything to eat besides spaghetti?
Serious question. I did eat a few things. I did mention my buffalo burger. It was okay. It's not meat, but it's food. All of Lindsay's snacks, yes. She did have many chocolate chip cookies, which I enjoyed thoroughly. I did try a lot of Asian food, which I'm not really accustomed to. So I had some chicken biryani. Is it where? Indian, sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. It's very hot and spicy, and I did not enjoy myself. Oh, one thing I got to mention. The Nepalese people were very friendly, but you cannot eat, you can't leave your food on your plate. You must eat it all and grow up to be a big, strong, healthy person.